Hi guys, Lauren Fritsch here, and I want to share with you some takeaways from the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church and their Christmas show. I was fortunate enough to attend their Christmas show. One of our babysitters was performing in it, and it is a phenomenal production. It is some great, even if you don't like church, you can appreciate this production. So next year, I encourage you to go. It was an allegory about the Christ story and salvation, and it was really amazingly done. There were phenomenal characters in the show, just some really zany people, and great music, and the production value of this show is insane. It's absolutely insane, and it's free to the community, and they do I don't know how many shows over the course of 2 weeks, but it's a big deal. So I encourage you to go and get tickets next year. And I wanted to share with you about it because there's some amazing marketing takeaways from the Brooklyn Tabernacle Christmas Show. It was fantastic on so many fronts, and this is going to be a long video because I'm going to tell you about them, but I'll also make sure to bullet point them. The biggest number one takeaway for me was something that I learned almost at the end of the show. So let me just set it up for you. So the show, like I said, is an allegory, and it's got motion graphics and a full orchestra and Grammy-winning singers and amazing actors and humorous numbers and good scenery, and it's just good. And about an hour and a half into the show, the preacher comes on, and he's like, I've got a great finale, but I want to share with you an important story. And this is his call to action. This is the offer that Brooklyn Tabernacle Church is going to make to this audience. And it was really fascinating to see how he did it. He did some of the classic stuff that we've seen in marketing, where he talked about his story. He talked about his personal story and plumbed the depths of human emotion, in that, he was the son of an alcoholic, and it was really hard for him. And he talked about that experience. And he also talked about conversion and restoration, and he talked about how his dad, after 22 years, got sober, and what that meant for him and for his family. And he painted a picture of life. He, on Christmas, instead of going home while his dad was an alcoholic, he would just ride the subways back and forth from Brooklyn to Manhattan. And that's he really plumbed the depths of the pain and loneliness and isolation and disconnectedness of for the church, for sin. And I'm sure everyone in the audience could feel that. They could feel that however it manifests in their own lives. So he did that. And then he started talking about, where we are, and that no matter our experience, we can also be restored, and be restored for him. Again, it's with the love of God. And so he took about, I'd say 25, 30 minutes to talk about this, concept of what we're feeling. We don't have to feel this way. And he talked about what the solution is. And he reminded us that after he was done talking, there was going to be this amazing finale. And it was an emotional, heartfelt time, learning about his life, and then also having time and space to think about what was going on in my life. And I'm sure each individual was also feeling the same thing. And at that point, he made an offer, a call to action, that was to come down to the front of the church. It's known in the church world as an altar call, and to dedicate or rededicate your life to God. And so people got up and went down and were prayed over, and that took time, and it was thorough. And then we were all invited to be a part of a prayer, and then he seated it back to the performance. And this is where something surprised me, instead of the performance being a continuation of what had gone before, it was totally different. It was completely different. For me, it was a little letdown because I'm not super into Christian contemporary music. I like the classic stuff, like Christmas carols and junk. Contemporary Christian music leaves me a little cold because it basically repeats the same lines over and over, and there's no real solid melody. However, I will say this was a good orchestra. They had these Christian dancers. If you've never seen Christian dancing, it's amazing. No, you should look it up. And they also had like multiple key changes. So what they did with the dancing, which is energetic and heartfelt, and then with the music, is they built it and built it and built it with the key changes into this like apex of emotion and energy after this very like solemn, quiet altar call. And so they built it into this kind of finale of excitement and not frenzy, but certainly again with the key changes and all the volume and then the graphics on the stage and the dancers, they made it excitement. They made it exciting and climactic. So, and then was the end of the show. And like I said, for me, since I don't love Christian contemporary music, it's a little anticlimactic. I was like, I want a Christmas Carol medley. Where are you? But for everybody else in the audience, I could tell they were really digging it. All right. So what does that teach us about marketing? Oh, and at the end, as you're leaving, they hand you 2 tickets to pass out to your friends so they can come to the same show. Okay. So takeaways for marketing. The number one thing that we need to learn from this is spend as much time on your offer preparing and practicing and rehearsing and lavishing with love your offer as you do on your performance. The call to action and the conversion bit was clearly thought out in this show. And I think that we often like jot down what our offer is and, you know, put some thought into it, certainly, but we don't like rehearse it the way that we would rehearse a program or a show. And that was the number one thing. We should be spending as much time on our offer pre-performance as on our performance. And then the second bit, the follow-on to that is that, you know, again, he took about an hour and a half that was the performance bit. And then, you know, if we combine the finale and then the offer, that was like another 45 minutes. It was really long. I just asked one of my clients, when you look at Amy Porterfield, who's selling her webinar course, she spends like an hour on the content and then a full like 35 minutes on her offer, like describing her offer and going through all the steps. So I think that we do ourselves a disservice by minimizing our offer, and I think that we need to spend a little bit more time on them. The second thing is use emotion, and this preacher clearly did that. He talked about emotion, and some of us are really used to that, and some of us are not. I sometimes think that it's disingenuous or like NLP or creepy to use emotion when I'm selling, but at the end of the day, like inviting someone to join me in community is emotional, and if we don't have an emotional connection with our audience, no matter what we're selling, then they're not going to integrate the change that we provide and that we know will change their lives. They're not going to integrate the change into their lives. So if we use emotion properly and with integrity, then it can be a really powerful engine of sales. The other bit is that there was transformation, and I talk about this a lot when I talk about customer experience. There was transformation immediately just on hearing the offer, the call to action. So whether or not you went down to the altar call or just stayed in your seat, you experienced something that was powerful and tangible and transformational. And so from a customer experience perspective, I want you to think about your offer being transformational. So if someone just hears your offer, it should be so amazing how you present it that alone is transformational, even if they haven't heard the product or the content before it or the programming before it. And then finally, there was this, again, the finale was all about getting people really jazzed up, like super jazzed up and leaving on a high note. And I thought that was really interesting. A lot of us don't do that, especially online. And then the final is they really made it easier for you to share your experience. So they gave you 2 tickets. Someone else who does that is T. Harv Eker in his book, you know, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind or something. There are 2 tickets to an event for, you know, you or someone else, whatever, in every book that he sells. And it's the same deal. Like, you can just go out and share the love and share experience. So again, I know this is a long video, but the customer experience of the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church was pretty amazing. And I think you should check it out because it's awesome. as a performance next Christmas. And if you're just curious from a marketing perspective, it was really like so many great lessons, with the main one being spend as much time crafting a transformational offer or call to action as you do crafting the content that leads up to it. All right, with that, peace.